relationship between cancer and karma is really very much like the relationship between anything and karma. That which happens to us because, yes, it is the fruit of the karma we have sown. So if we plant, as I always say, if we plant apple seeds, we get an apple tree that gives us apples. If we plant orange seeds, we're going to get an orange tree that will give us oranges. But here's what's really important. When you look at disease, it's not that you've planted a seed of disease. It's not that we've somehow been cultivating and nourishing a disease the way that you do an apple tree or an orange tree. Rather, the reason that disease comes into our life is so that we can take the next step closer to the divine. That's why everything happens. That's the ultimate point of the law of karma. It's not just a law of nature that acts in this way or acts in that way. It's not just like gravity that grabs you and pulls you to the ground. Karma is a law of nature, yes, but the ultimate goal of the cycle of karma is to be free of that and to attain oneness with the divine. And so disease does not come to us. Disease does not come to us, that's worth repeating, as a punishment. No one should feel like I've done something wrong, therefore I have this bad karma and I've gotten this illness. No. Yes, sure, there may be some seeds in my life that I can look back on, whether it's lifestyle issues, smoking, tobacco, eating certain things, whether it's genetic issues. But ultimately, what comes into my life comes in so that I can take my next step closer to God. So when we ask, should I fight it or should I not fight it? It's not about fighting it. It's about using it to peel back the layers of who we are, to peel back the layers of ignorance, of ego, of attachment, of identity, of all of the stuff that keeps us stuck, and actually connecting with who we really are. People who have been face to face with death, through serious illnesses, through near-death experiences, always, if they survive, they always come back and say, I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. Yes, I suffered. Yes, I was scared. Yes, I was sick. But what it gave me in terms of the vision and the perspective of who I really am, what the universe really is, what my connection to the universe really is, I wouldn't trade that for anything. And so that's why illness shows up in our life. And so when it does, don't think about fighting the illness, because remember, my body has created it. Even if it's something as external as, say, malaria. I got bit by a mosquito. Well, the mosquito had malaria. You could say, well, I didn't create the malaria. The mosquito created the malaria. Well, no. The mosquito just put a little something in my blood. It was my system that took that, reproduced it, allowed it to enter the cells of my body, allowed it to make me sick. So all of that actually gets created within us, which means that if you're fighting something, you're fighting in the self. And we don't want to create war within ourselves when you're already dealing with an illness. The last thing you need is also to be dealing with a war. So instead of thinking about fighting it, think about using it to learn what you were supposed to learn, think about using it to open in the way you're supposed to open. Think about using it to peel back the layers of the self. And should you take treatment? Of course. Because we've only got one body. And the body is a temple. And in the same way that when our body is tired, we sleep. When our body is hungry, we eat. If our body is dirty, we bathe. We're thirsty, we drink. If I cut myself, I'm going to, my other hand is going to come and hold it to protect it. We should do whatever we can to protect the body because it is a temple and it is our only medium to consciousness and to awakening. So by all means, get as many minutes, as many days as you possibly can in this body. But remember, ultimately what matters is not the days of my life. It's the life in my days. So while you're getting treatment, while you are working to heal the body, remember to focus not on getting more minutes of life, more days of life, but how to fill every minute and every day with what life is about. And that's also what disease does, is it is like this mirror in our face of, oh wow, yeah, this is what life is about. It's not about all of these stupid little things that we worry about and get upset about and stress over. It's not about who's wearing what or saying what or doing what. It's about my connection to God. It's about my connection to God through my loved ones. It's about my connection to the universe. It's about love. It's about truth. That's why I'm here. And so when disease comes, whether it's cancer, whether it's anything, absolutely do whatever we can to heal the body. But remember that balance, internally, body, mind, spirit, is so important. And here's one last very important piece. A large percentage of people who get bit by a mosquito with malaria are going to get malaria, but not 100%. A percentage of people who have a gene for cancer are going to get that cancer, but not all of them. In many cases, the number, it's not even 50%. Now, of course, in cancer, risk rates of 30%, 40% are enormous. They're huge. But what we have to remember is, wait, even if there's a risk rate of 40% of dying, it means 60% of people in this situation don't die. All of the statistics they give of people who eat this or do this or have this gene are going to get this disease. Well, some percent will. It's more than the general population, sure. But there's still an enormous number of people who don't get it. And the question becomes, why? And the whole field now of epigenetics is giving us such incredible information about the role of the environment on our genes. Now, what's the environment of our genes? It's our blood. That's the environment our cells sit in. What flows through our blood? Well, of course, yes, what we eat, the vitamins we take, of course. The drugs if we take them, the alcohol if we drink it, the nicotine if we smoke, of course. But what else flows through our blood? All of the stress hormones. So many of the chemical substrates of our emotions, they now have found receptors for emotional neurotransmitters. Now, neurotransmitters live in the brain. Hormones flow through the bloodstream. We always thought neurotransmitters were only in the brain. It was just a way for the neurons of the brain to talk to each other. But now they have found receptors for emotional neurotransmitters on the cells of the immune system. Well, this is huge because what it means is our emotions, which we thought lived only in our brain, are talking to, impacting, affecting the cells of our immune system, which flow through our blood. And so just as important as genetics, what's in that cell, even more important is the environment in which that cell sits, which determines whether those genes actually get turned on or don't get turned on. Because simply having a gene for something doesn't mean it will get expressed. Simply engaging in a certain behavior doesn't mean it's going to have ramifications. Now, of course, that's not a license to smoke. It's not a license to eat junk food. But what it means is never despair, never give up. Even if you've got a diagnosis, the question to ask the doctor, if the doctor tells you, well, you know, even if the doctor says you've got an 80% chance of dying, well, it means you've got a 20% chance of kicking this thing. And that's huge. Because from what I know of cancer, there's almost nothing where they tell you 80% chance of dying. At the most, 50%, 40%. So focus not on your chance of dying. Focus not on what's not going to work. Focus on, how can I be sure to be one of those who doesn't get it? Whether it's 5%, whether it's 10%, whether it's 50%. However many people there are who don't die from what I have. Whatever percent of people there are who have my gene but don't get cancer. I want to be one of those. How can I do that? And that, of course, is where all of our lifestyle comes in. Our diet, exercise, not being exposed to toxins, so eating organic food, breathing clean air. But just as important is our inner environment. Because we may take in beautiful natural food from outside, but if our inner environment is toxic, well, that's just as deadly. So be sure, whether you're looking to prevent illness, whether you're looking to heal from it, or whether you're looking to just experience a deeper, more profound, meaningful life, this is where the spiritual connection is so important. And remember, our thoughts, our emotions, create our world, the outer world and the inner world. The very last point, though, is that doesn't mean you should feel guilty. If you have cancer, don't feel like, oh my God, I've done it to myself, I've thought the wrong things, I was too stressed. No. In fact, don't even wonder why you got it. It doesn't matter. You're here now. What matters now is now what? So instead of using any energy to wonder, why do I have it? Ask yourself, what do I need to learn from it? What layers do I need to peel back? What is it in my life to teach me? Why has cancer showed up in my life? And how can I heal this beautiful temple? In the body, in the mind, in the thoughts, in the emotions, and in the spirit. And I'm so sorry I can't be there physically with you all today. Unfortunately, while you're watching this, I'm going to actually be on an airplane to Amsterdam. But I'm so impressed and so touched by the work you're doing. And I wish you all of the best. Thank you.